Snow Patrol are one of the biggest bands of the 90s and the noughties, and they're bringing Sounds of the City to a close on Sunday at the Castlefield Bowl. And I've been talking to Gary Lightbody, the singer from the band, and once again, I love to explore that situation where somebody has been involved with a unique and iconic piece of music and their biggest hits, Chasing Cars. I asked Gary what that particular song meant to him.
And I understand completely the question, and there are at times, there have been occasional times when it has felt like a burden, and I'm talking about just moments, but for the most part, a blessing. It took a long time to have a hit, but like when we had a hit with Run, we weren't really expecting to have, any other ones. So we certainly weren't expecting to have an even bigger one, which is Cars. So, and because of that, we ended up going around the world many, many times, playing loads of different places. And I have to think that it probably wouldn't have happened, and we probably wouldn't have had as much longevity and as much of a kick on without it. So, a pleasure for the most part, and a few instances where you're maybe being asked about chasing cars in an interview and nothing else. They don't want to talk about anything else, so that can be a burden.
Also, I mean, as much as a performer, I remember watching a video once of the Monterey Pop Festival in '67, and the Byrds were one of the headliners, and they came on and they didn't do their two American number ones, Mr. Tambourine Man and Turn, because they just weren't in the mood. And I often think about that when you're performing something. I know you love the song and it's from your heart and you wrote it, so it's a baby of yours, but when you perform it, you can't perform that half-heartedly. You've got to gird your loins in a way, haven't you, and deliver it properly.
Absolutely. There's no point. But yeah, if you're not going to be able to do that, then don't put it in the set list. That's for sure. But we've never had a problem with that. It's felt like when everybody starts singing along. So we're blessed with a lot of songs people sing along with, and it's it's magic when it happens. Like it's nothing else like it. And when people start singing along, Chasing Cars, sometimes I don't even sing. You know what I mean? It's just the crowd sings it. So. Who wouldn't want that experience as many times as possible before they die?
I remember when I first heard Run, and you think that's a nice piece of rock and roll, that, and you just assumed that the band formed, a year ago. It's only when I'm looking through your discography today, there was a fair road, wasn't there, to success before anything whatsoever happened to you guys, apart from in your sort of geographical area. What was that journey like when, year in, year out, you've not, in inverted commas, made it?
Yeah, there was a lot of questions from various band members' parents, including my own, when you going to get a proper job and all that. That was a pretty constant weekly question. It took from 94 to 2004 was our, the first 10 years of the band, and Run was a hit at the start of 2004. So yeah, we had 10 years with no success at all. I mean, we were playing to 20, maybe 40 people a night in England, Scotland, maybe a little bit more in Scotland and Ireland. We started to build, slowly over those 10 years. By the time 2003 came along, we were maybe playing to 500 people in Ireland, which in both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So that was a big success for us at the time, and then, Run happened and everything changed. It went bananas.
Gary Lightbody from the Snow Patrol. More from my chat with Gary tomorrow, when we're going to find out how important his heritage is to him and how he's been inspired by other artists and bands. Remember, Snow Patrol at Castlefield Bowl, bringing Sounds of the City to a close on Sunday. And the second part of my conversation with Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol, as the band get ready for a massive headline gig at the Castlefield Bowl on Sunday. And as part of this interview, you'll hear how they feel about playing live again. But I wanted to talk to Gary about the great Irish musical heritage that he comes from. How aware of you are of that rock and roll heritage from where you come from?
Oh, very, very aware of it. I've always made myself aware of it. I've always made, as far as I'm concerned, the Undertones Teenage Kicks is the best, as John Peel said, it's the best 2 minutes and 30 minutes of his life. He's quoted as saying that. And I would include it in certainly the best 2 minutes, 30 seconds of my life as well. It's a slice of genius, a slice of heaven. It's Van Morrison's music and all the bands that were happening as we were teenagers. Ash, who were teenagers at the time themselves, and the Divine Comedy and Therapy, and there's so many great bands from Northern Ireland when we were coming up, and now there's an even bigger, more splendid scene there now than there ever was. It seems like there's just so many extraordinary artists and acts.
You're doing the Castlefield Bowl in September. What's it been like for you when all your life, for decades, you've been a performer? And that means you're standing in front of audiences, and when you were younger, there have only been 20 people there, but that's what you do. And suddenly, nearly 2 years ago, somebody said to you, well, sorry, Gary, mate, you're going to have to stop doing this for a couple of years.
It's heartbreaking for everybody, but much more heartbreaking to watch for all the young artists and all the artists that were struggling even before the pandemic hit. So many bands that were just sort of keeping it together and by the skin of their teeth. And we knew, we've already spoken about those first 10 years. We know what that feels like. It's absolutely tragic to see music and everything else, of course, everything ground to a halt. But, music is food for the soul. And when that grinds to a halt, there's an awful big gap in our, in our joy, in our reason to live. It's amazing to see festivals and gigs that are sort of coming back and happening again, because we need some joy in our lives.
Have you done a gig yet?
I did a small gig in a friend's back garden to prepare for the gigs that are coming up in September. I didn't play Chasing Cars, so there you go. And it was really, really brilliant to play again. But we're in rehearsals at the moment and getting ready for the gigs that are coming up, including obviously the gig in Castlefield on the 26th of September with the fantastic Lathams and Lucy Blue on the bill as well. So it's great. It's great lineup.
Lathams are a great band from Wigan, the home of rock and roll. When I listen to Run, you listen to band songs, there's something about that, the story that tells. It's about you when you were a little bit more Larry, really. Tell us about that.
Well, it was certainly written when I was more Larry, that's for sure. When I was I haven't had a drink in 5 years now. So we were still kind of living as the sort of student life where you're, there's only one ring on the cooker that works and the shower's held on by gaffer tape and all that sort of stuff. So it was sort of imagining a life for me and my family and my friends and obviously the bandmates and people close to me, imagining a better life, kind of trying to manifest that life into being. Ironically, or perhaps not ironically, the song turned out to do just that, but it certainly was not something that was on our minds when we were writing it. When I was writing the lyrics, I wasn't thinking, well, this is going to be a big hit. In fact, the song was 6 minutes in the original version, in the original form, and it was actually played. Joe Wiley on the BBC played it. It was a full 6 minute version on Radio 1. She took a punt on it. Bless her for doing it, and people liked it. We did a radio mix of it, and that's what made it into a single. So we weren't even thinking of it as a single at the time,
Talking to Gary Lightbody from the Snow Patrol. They get ready to play the Castlefield Bowl on Sunday. Massive band with top 10 singles, #1 album. But did you know that Chasing Cars was named as the UK's most played song of the 21st century? And part of the conversation we talked about Manchester United. Gary's a big fan, but also, and I do this with everybody if I've never interviewed them before, Gary's own musical influences. What was the door opening moment for you when young Gary thought, I want to actually be in a rock and roll band, please?
Well, I'd always fantasized about it. I grew up listening to metal. After my, being a kid and listening to pop and things like that, the first kind of music that was my own, felt like my own, was metal. Was Iron Maiden, Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, Pantera, all that. But I picked up a guitar. I got a guitar, like a 50-pound guitar, on the back of the local paper or whatever. I couldn't play any of it. It was too complicated. It was all lead solos and things. And the guitar went back into the back of the cupboard. And then Nirvana came along and blew the doors off. And for me, like I didn't hear Bleach first. I'm not going to claim coolness by saying I knew Bleach before I knew Nevermind. But when I heard Nevermind, everything changed. And then I saw Nirvana play in '92 in Belfast, supported by Teenage Fan Club and the Breeders. Still the best gig I've ever seen. I was 16 years old, not that I thought I could be Kurt Cobain, but I thought I want to do that. I want to be on stage. I want to be in a band. That's the life that I want. So it was Nevermind by Nirvana that changed my life.
I saw some footage of them a few weeks ago from the 90s, the early 90s, and even now, decades later, they look cool as Johnny and the Cools on National Cool Day. It still looks and sounds incredible. So I'm going to make you really jealous. I can't normally make you jealous because you've done so much. I'm fortunate enough I used to put CDs together for Alex Ferguson when he first came to Manchester because I got to know him then. And I played for United's B team once when I was younger. So that's my connection.
Fantastic.
And I've been following.
That's amazing.
Been following the club my whole life, and I know that you're a United fan. So I've got to ask you your thoughts on Ronaldo coming to the team.
I'm completely over the moon. It just seems to have happened in some kind of, like, even just the way it's happened, like as a surprise,
like a film.
It's a movie, like I'm not going to say ending because there's, it's Ronaldo. I mean, he'd probably play for another 5 years. So who knows? I mean, I'm absolutely over the moon, absolutely overwhelmed. I can't, the first thing I was like refreshing the fantasy football transfer list, like every minute. But when he came up, I had him in my team, like as soon as he was available. So I'm just over the moon.
And the amount of people I've interviewed over the years that started off as kids in rock and roll bands of various genres and still have the passion and can't believe they're doing it. Remember, I'm going to just drop names very quickly. Clang, talking to Robert Plant from Led Zepp a couple of 3 years ago, and said, "Do you still think you'd have been doing this in the 2000s?" And he said, "No, but I love it." What's your thoughts on that? I mean, you were kids when you started. I mean, but compared to me, you're still really young, but the future and what you want to do and how you feel about rock and roll.
One of the things I did over the last 18 months was write songs, hundreds and hundreds of them. My passion for writing has never diminished. I can't wait to get back on stage. I want to do this for I always joked I want to do it for as long as my knees hold up because I have so many injuries from playing football. I mean, I was a very bad footballer, but I was good at getting injured. That was about the best thing I was good at. So I'll do it for as long as I can jump around on stage. I love it. Can't wait to do it for as long as possible.
And you see, that comes over. And the one thing, Gary, you can't fake that. You either love what you're doing or you pretend you love it. But if you pretend it, it comes over. It really does. Been absolutely belting talking to you. Wish you all the very best for the future.
Brilliant. You too, Mike. Take care. It was great talking to you.